In California, a tribe is celebrating the return of stewardship of more than 700 acres of its homelands. The Paula Band of Mission Indians considers the land known as Gregory Mountain, or as Chacla and Luiseño, as sacred. It is the site of an ancestral village with rock art paintings and artifacts. The tribal nation has used Chacla as a place to pray since at least in 1903, when the U.S. government forcibly moved them from their original homelands to the reservation that already had Luiseño people. Last week, President Joe Biden signed into law a bill authorizing Interior Secretary Deb Haaland to place the land into trust for the tribe. And those are the headlines for the ICT newscast. The organization Dream of Wild Health is one of the oldest and longest operating Native American-led nonprofits in Minneapolis, Minnesota. It is raising vegetables and farmers. ICT's Shirley Snavy interviewed Hope Flanagan, who does community outreach and cultural teaching there. She is Seneca, but grew up in Minnesota.
I have been working at the farm for 15 summers, so I've been there quite a while. And usually when we start our day at the farm with the youth, we start with our tribal introductions, and we'll do our prayers. So I do the prayers that I was taught by elders that I worked in the Ojibwe immersion classroom for 10 years. So I follow the ways that I was taught. So when I introduce myself, I'd say, Bujun Indinoe Magani Duk, Nejiba Madazik, Du Denansi Koi Indigo, Mikanak Nindu Dame, Tawanish Kodiganing and Dujaba, the Nokiama, Dream Wild Haltega, Ashinano, Bibunicus, Gayawan and Manda Gitchaman Wayne, Jayano Ma. I really enjoy working there. I especially enjoy working with the young ones. With practice and work, we started to get the young people involved, young Native people. Well, at first, they would look at us like we were crazy. Why did we want to grow vegetables, and what were we going to do with them? And what on earth is a kohlrabi anyway? So we put our minds together and decided that the best way to do this is to get the young ones involved in cooking and planting, growing, harvesting, and cooking. And it really worked, because once they had a hand in preparing the food and doing taste tests, then they became really interested in, oh gosh, if I do this, then I get this flavor. So they were looking at, oh, that sounds like a good idea. It wasn't even like running our own farmers markets, because we started that way too, by going to the native housing area called Little Earth, the United Tribes. We would do a little farmers market there, but that didn't get them as engaged as when they could cook for each other and themselves. So that seemed to be the ticket. So as that happened, we started to see, oh, well, we can get involved in the farmers markets. And that's what we started to do, is have the youth growing the foods, cooking the foods, like working with a chef, or and it was always a native chef, to show them how to create their own foods for lunches. And then we added breakfasts after a while. So we made a policy. It was a good relative policy, and we would always make sure there was no white flour, white sugar, no milk. So all focusing on healthy foods that would encourage health for the young ones, eating in a more healthy way and working in a more healthy way. And last year we produced 12.25 tons of food, and it all goes back to the Native community, either in agencies, people can buy shares, and we do have a sliding fee scale for Native families who are interested in buying a share. For Native chefs, like we have chefs through the Minneapolis American Indian Center, through Division of Indian Work, through even Sean Sherman's Owamity. And then we could see like the young ones that were really interested in chefing. Last year we had 3 that were working at Owamity Restaurant. So our view of working with the youth was always longitudinal too, like Don't just say, oh, we worked with this many number of Native youth and then drop them so we can get a higher number. It was, this child is returning. Now they know how to gather garlic. Now they know how to dry the garlic. Now they know how to process it. So looking at like how they get engaged in the whole food system. For us, we're seeing big changes in the heat level, and we're seeing big changes in the water levels. So being mindful of that, we're paying attention to what's going to grow, what's going to thrive. So if we have, for example, in our seed garden, if we have, for growing out Taos squash. So if we're growing out the Taos squash, the squash from Taos Pueblo, then if it's growing out there in Taos, those are going to be two different strengths that it has. Now it can take that soil in Taos, but it can also take this soil in Minnesota. So we've got the same seed, but it's developing different strengths and different aspects. That's what this whole concept of rematriation is, when those seeds go back to their tribes, and then hopefully they give them out to different Native individuals that will grow out those seeds, and those seeds will have other soil types, other water levels, other conditions where they can become strong in different ways. One of the key phrases we use all the time is, we grow seeds and we grow leaders. Because a lot of these concepts about like respecting the youth and respecting the seeds, that they really are seeds, those youth really are seeds. So the concept being, we're looking at that next seventh generation too, like what's happening along the way. We need to respect them and make sure that they flourish. And a lot of those concepts are embedded in the languages. So we also encourage the young ones to start learning languages. Every plant has a gift, whether it's a gift for breathing issues. Last year, we saw all sorts of plants that were coming up that their gift was to address breathing issues. Well, this year, we've been fighting smoke like crazy from the Canadian fires. So even before the farming season started, I made the herbal tobacco blend that we used to put down as our thank you. And it was a breathing blend. It was all the plants that you would use to support our breathing system. I feel like we're in a time that we're being challenged to be strong. And this was a teaching that I got from a fellow who was half Dakota and half Ojibwe, Chris Leith. Oh man, that guy, he would speak both languages too. But he said, remember, it's so important to think about being healthy in all the four ways in the medicine wheel: mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually. Don't focus on just one area. You have to be mentally, spiritually, physically, emotionally strong, all four, and you have to try to be balanced. So when we do those prayers, and I'm sure most of your readership is familiar with, you do the four directions, Mother Earth, then it can vary tribally what the middle one is. For us, it's the water world and then the sky world. So you're trying to find that balance in the globe. It's a globe of intention of all the unseen beings that we're thanking and that are watching over us.
That was cultural teacher Hope Flanagan from the Seneca Nation.